Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Total Podcast with me, your host, Phil Scott. So today I am so very excited to have on a new guest today. Her name is Jannesy DeLeon, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And she has written this wonderful new book that we're going to get into in just a bit. But first of all, I'm going to have her talk about herself a little bit, and then I will ask some questions. So without further ado, here is Jannesy. So Jannesy, good morning or good afternoon for you.
Phil, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, it's so nice to meet you. I'm glad you were able to make time out of your busy schedule to do the podcast today. So thank you very, very much.
Very happily.
Truly appreciate it. Thank you. So first of all, I want you, if you would, just tell us a little bit about your background, where you were born, what was your family like, where did you go to school, and what did you study in college?
Okay. I was born in the Bronx. I'm from Bronx, New York. And it's just a family of four. And we were very close. It's me and my sister. And, we come from a very humble background, poor, my parents are from Puerto Rican descent. And so I'm Puerto Rican. And it was a very happy childhood, I'm so proud that I was born and raised in New York and in the Bronx. And you kind of tend to learn how to be savvy and street smart real quick, but even though New York City gets a bad rap, I just remember a wonderful childhood and getting together with my childhood friends and going outside and playing stickball and punch ball and just having, access to everything that the city had to offer, and we lived really like in the shadows of Yankee Stadium. So we just spent a lot of time in the bleachers in Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
Yes, huge Yankee fan here. And so I just remember it with a lot of fondness, the good thing was that my father always made sure that we knew what was out there and that education was like important. And that there was other things other than this small little community that we lived in, our own little bubble here in New York City.
Right.
And I always kind of grew up with that desire to own a home and things like that. And so I just made sure that I went to school. I was like this straight A student. And I did go to high school in New York City, in Manhattan, like a block from like Empire State Building.
Mhm.
So I ended up going to college 10 blocks from there. It's Baruch College for accounting, which is interesting because I realized like my maybe second, third year in, I really don't want to do this. Not interesting. Kind of didn't tap into those creative skills that I felt I always had deep inside. But, when you grow up kind of with no money really, you live in the shadows of like Manhattan and Wall Street, you're just thinking about making money on a stable basis, like having stability. Right. So I kind of, because I was so smart, I was given opportunities even before I went to college. I actually got my first job before I graduated high school. And that's how I stayed in the field, in the commercial real estate field. And so that kind of afforded me the opportunity to go to school and work at the same time. They were awesome. I worked on 42nd in Lexington originally, and then I was on Park Avenue helping to manage commercial buildings. And but I was able to get my degree. I did, because once I start something, I finish it, even though I realized really soon into that, I do not want to be an accountant. That's just not, I think I just got in high school, I got kind of like, kind of advised, that maybe I should do that, just because I guess I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was kind of scared to kind of go down that route of maybe liberal arts or English literature or, acting, writing. I never thought I'm going to make money out of that. I want to make money. I want to get out of, the city. I want to buy a home. And so all that kind of just made me think I got to go the business route.
Right.
But I did get my degree. I did get my job. And so it afforded me those opportunities. And I loved working in the city. I really did. I mean, I was within 20 blocks. I would go to school, walk 20 blocks to my job. And so I love that. And so that's the kind of childhood and, young adulthood that I had growing up.
Now, just to share a quick story with you, we have something in common. When I was in high school, I took an accounting class in the 12th grade. It lasted like 6 weeks and I couldn't handle it anymore. I was like, I'm done.
I started well, and it also depends on your professors. Like when you have good professors, you're in. But somewhere in my third year, I think it was my junior year, I got a couple of bad ones and I just totally lost interest. But I just feel like I don't think I was going to go that route. It was pretty boring, and no judgment on those that love numbers. God bless them. But after a while, I just realized, oh, this is not what I want to do with my life. But I used that degree to get my second job. And so I enjoyed the real estate business. And when I mean commercial, it's those big buildings, high-rise buildings in New York City.
Right.
And that's why, I was like a collection supervisor. So I was pretty popular. I got a lot of little perks there because any tenant that saw me coming, forget it. They would give me perks. In Christmas, I would get all tons of gifts and stuff that's just trying to keep me on the good side.
Nice.
So, but I enjoyed it. It was the late 80s, early 90s. So, Wall Street was popping at that time. And it was a fun time. I really enjoyed it.
For you, what was the most important lessons you learned about working on Wall Street and working in that environment?
Just the ethic, just the consistency. I was always a pretty, like I said, a straight A student, good daughter, always, heeded to my little curfews and, no big problem child, but just the structure. You're just getting up in the morning, having something to work on, and just being responsible and knowing that people that rely on you can rely on you. And that's pretty much what people are looking for. You know what I mean? You can learn the skills on the job, which is what I did. Because like I said, I started even before, I had an office already before I even finished high school.
Wow.
I had my own office because they created a position for me, which was wonderful. And so, but it's because when I showed up, I was there and I did a good job, and whatever I didn't know, I learned, and I was eager to learn, and, they appreciated that.
Now, let's talk about your book, Tag Youre It. And it seems to me that it's based on your children. And now tell me about your children and how that's been and how that inspired you to write your book.
I've had this idea for a very long time, about like 13 years. It was a thought that I said, my daughter was born in 2001, and shortly thereafter, we saw that there were issues. She was very low tone, and but at this point, we didn't know early in that this was a brain abnormality issue, and eventually like a genetic issue, because then her brother was born like 3.5 years later, and you could tell had the same issues. But she would get sick a lot, and in her right before her second year, like when she was 1.5, we spent like 6 months out of the year in the hospital in Philadelphia, because now at this point I've moved. When I got married in 98, I moved to upstate New York, and then about a year later, I moved to the Pocono area, Pocono Mountains in Northeast Pennsylvania. And so we were already living out here when she was born. And so she got sick, like 3 respiratory infections within 6 months. And someone, even a typical normal individual, that's pretty tough on their body, let alone a child who has very low tone and has other issues that I think about age 1 is when we realized we had gone to New York City actually to go see a neurologist at Columbia Presbyterian. She got sick and had her first major seizure.
Wow.
And she ended up in the emergency room in the hospital. She ended up being transferred to one hospital to another. And at Montefiore Hospital, they finally did an MRI, and that's where they realized that she was lacking and had abnormal white matter, which the white matter is what gives you, those signals to your muscles, your nerves, and all that kind of stuff. And so it explained a lot. At the time, I didn't know that my husband was told that she wouldn't live past 3.
Oh, wow.
So thank God he never told me that I would have lasted. But I would say once her brother was born, and then we realized, oh, we're in it, because he was a surprise. I wasn't trying to have another child because at this point, My daughter wasn't diagnosed. They were trying really hard to diagnose her. They're both really undiagnosed. They don't really know exactly what they have.
Mhm.
So somewhere in the mix, I think my sister she has special gifts, and she told me she saw a vision of that I had the book. And I was like, oh, I always wanted to write a book. And I started doing like she gave me like how textbooks on how to write nonfiction or how to write fiction. And I just started studying and doing all these things, but deep down inside, I was just not in the right place. I just felt like my kids had kind of eaten all my creative brain cells, like I had nothing. That's how I felt. And I was going through a lot within those years. There was a
Right.
lot going on. And when I'm seeing a lot, I'm talking a lot. My daughter's born. So after her third respiratory infection, we ended up spending 4 months straight in the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. And that's where she got trached, and she's on a ventilator. That was after several times of trying to extubate her, and she failed very badly. She almost died the second time. So that was it. The decision was made to trach her and put her on a ventilator. And, and then her brother was born like a year after she's just been home. So I've just been dealing with that. And while I found out that I was pregnant with my son, because I was so busy with her, I wasn't taking care of myself. But because I got pregnant, I got checked, and lo and behold, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer while
Oh,
pregnant with my.
wow.
Yes. And so I couldn't have surgery until he was born. And so that was a wait, So now everything, the focus now was me. I was going to, nuclear medicine. Like it was this child who had just been put on a ventilator a year or two before. I was having more appointments now than her. So that was very trying while having a newborn, because right after he was born, we spent a week in the hospital because, of course, nothing goes as well as I would want to. And he was an emergency C-section. And we spent a week at the hospital. And then after we came home, I was given like 3 days, and then I went straight in for surgery again.
Wow.
So I had to deal with that, all that hormone, because I was given a complete thyroidectomy, while now in the throes of this, discovering that my son seems to have the same disorder as my daughter. So I kind of went into a dark place there after that. Nobody knew that, but I know I did. I was very depressed. I was functioning depressed person. But looking back now, I'm like, wow, how did I get it through all that? But I did. I just one day decided I was just gonna switch my thinking, and I think I was just ready to go from that dark place, because at this point, what are you gonna do? I got to be better for my kids, and so they're my number one priority. So to shorten the story, because there's a lot that goes on in between there, but that's for a future memoir that I hope to one day write for everybody, because I feel like I do have a story to tell of my personal journey.
Sounds like you do.
I do. If I can help anybody just get through that, that would be a blessing. But what prompted me to now go write this story was, unfortunately, it'll be almost 2 years now, I separated from my husband. And through a lot of reading, I read a lot of self-help books that got me through trying to understand why this is happening. I read The Power of Intention, and something about just putting your focus on something. And by Wayne Dyer, that book was powerful and just made me focus, decide, what is it that you love to do? Because guess what? Jannesy forgot who she was. What do you like? What would you do if you had all the money in the world and you sat there? And I literally could not answer that question. And that was scary, because I'm like, I was somebody. I was a mom. I before I was a mom, I was somebody with thoughts and ideas and things that I wanted to do and desires. Like, what were those things? And I kind of had to just start digging deep and started meditating a lot and just wondering what it is that I want to do. And so lo and behold, I'm having a lunch with my friends, and these are friends I've known for years, that we were kind of like gym rats, and before COVID hit. And one of the girls asked one of my friends, Beth, oh, you wrote children's books. And that kind of just perked my ear up. And I was like, Beth? I knew she was a writer, but I didn't know she wrote children's books. So I said, ooh, well, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to pick her ear one of these days. And when I get home, my sister tells me, I sent you this email. This is not for me, this is for you. It was about joining like a 7-day writing challenge online through the Hay House publishing community. And I was like, okay, this is not the universe telling me something. I don't know what is. And so I did. I joined the Hay House writing community with the 7-day challenge, which just got me started journaling and writing every day and doing these things. And then from there on, I said, I have no clue how to write a children's book. I read a couple of books and said, oh, well, God, really? This is easy. What are you talking about? This, I mean, seriously? And lo and behold, I go sit down to write my first book. I get it all ready. And I realized, oh, crap, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to write. I said, no, this is not as easy as it looks. So I just started Googling how to write a children's book. And, you get bombarded with things. And then, but one of the things that I got was this template on like an outline. And so I kind of got the outline in. It's about, there is structure in this, professionals in the business, they follow these structures. And so I'm like, okay, that's what got my outline down. But then I started getting this offer through, was Journey to the Kidlit School, this 6-week intensive writing course. And I said, well, I got to do it. And I did it. And that's how I got my story down. And I was able to, I decided to go through, I'm sure you're familiar with this, the hybrid publishing, which I never knew anything about. Because I'm like, I was going to go the self-publishing route. And then I realized, oh, I don't have time for this. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I know the things that I can do, and I know the things that I don't know how to do. And that was as easy as they made it sound. Like, no, I knew that was not going to be. And if I wanted this to be something that was successful, I needed to go with professionals.
Yeah, that always helps too, doesn't it?
Yes. And I figured if I was going to invest some money self-publishing, if I just went a little, if not invest in myself, then who else should I invest in at this point?
Right.
I just felt like now the universe and everything was just telling me, yeah, this is what you're doing, because everything was just falling in line. Because right now I was just following my joy. And so because I was following my joy and I'm at this like good vibration, everything was just lining up. It was like, it was like kind of scary there. And I try not to question it, because when you question it, that's when you kind of then just cause blocks for yourself. But everything just lined up. And then I submitted my manuscript after I did my own edits. And they accepted it. And I decided I'm going to just invest. And that way we can get this book out. I'm not getting any younger. I want it out. I want to do it. And that's how the book was born. And this is literally this month, it'll be a year since I started the whole journey.
Wow.
It's only been a year.
That's amazing. Well, tell me, in terms of the process of writing it, how the characters came to be. It looks like they're based on your kids.
Yes, they're inspired by my children.
So,
go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. No, you were saying that they're inspired by your kids.
They're inspired. So my idea was, I wanted to Gabriella obviously be in a wheelchair, but be trached at least. I didn't want to add the whole ventilator because that was just too much.
Right.
But I wanted a child who was nonverbal. And I wanted her to have her little psychic. So I made my son a typical developing child, because I wanted him to be kind of her voice, or her advocate, really, and her sidekick, like, through whatever adventures, because obviously this is the first book in a series. I just kind of wanted to introduce them and have some lesson. And so I think this is how I came up with the story. Was somebody asked me, and I'm pretty sure it was my publisher's, like, who was teaching the class, by the way. That's how the connection, we got together. But what's the story that you want to tell? What is it that you want? What lesson it is? And that's the reason why I wanted to write the book. It wasn't because I just wanted to write children's books. It's because I want to teach children at the very young age to not be afraid of anybody that looks different from them, right. Not to be afraid, and to include and to engage, whether they speak or not. Just treat them with some respect. And you have to start young, so that way you expose them early. And that's what I like about where we grow up here. They go to typical schools. where then there's inclusion. You know, there's kids that come into their classroom and then they attend music or gym classes with other tips. So that way they're exposed. And so they're not afraid, because I noticed too that the children that were never afraid of that were actually fascinated by my kids are offsprings or children from home health professionals, teachers, special ed teachers. So they teach them from a very young age how to talk to children that are nonverbal or children with special needs. And it's so beautiful to see that. And then, you know, but then you see the other kids are a little afraid. And so I understand that. So I felt like if I could expose them and my goal is to make Gabriella this mainstream character in a series. Yes, it's about her, but it's also about her and her brother and the typical things that families go through. Just that we are flexible and adaptable, because that's really like our motto in life, because we've had to adapt and be very flexible throughout our lives. And so, but make her mainstream. You don't really see that where there's a series that, you know, she just happens to be in a wheelchair and is nonverbal. So if I can make that happen, and I will make that happen, that's really my goal in life. Then kids that even typical children will want that in their library, their series. Oh, I want to know what Gabby and Nicky did next. You know, I want that. If she just happens to be in a wheelchair and nonverbal, that's really my goal in life. And then guess what? There's lessons along the way that they're learning in each book.
That's amazing. Tell me, during the process of writing the book, what was a typical day like for you? Because you have such a unique schedule. What was it like fitting in the writing time with your kids and everything else that you're doing?
Well, I'm very blessed because of their issues. They do have nursing during the day. So that's literally when I do everything. And so I'm, from the minute the nurses come, I'm go, 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 go. The good thing about the pandemic was it forced you to slow down.
Right.
So all this happened during the pandemic. So I was able to, we weren't going anywhere, wasn't doing anything. So I was able to just make this little corner writing space here that you see here behind me. That's just, it's my bedroom. I just made a corner where I could look out the window and see nature and just take a couple of hours, you know, where I can meditate, I can journal, I can be grateful, and then I can take time to write. And so that's what I would do. Or I would go outside during this, when it starts getting warmer, I would go on my patio in the back outside. And, you know, I feel very blessed living in the Pocono Mountains area, because we have such, you know, it's so beautiful. And so surrounded by trees and nature, and would just sit there. And it sounds wonderful, but you know, there are good days and bad days. There are days you sit there and you're like, there's nothing coming out of me right now. Or during the whole editing process, I would pull out my hair like, I can't believe they took this out. Are they really part of this? Is important. How are they going to get how Gabriella's thinking? And then, of course, you give it a minute or two later and you reread it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why they're the editors and I'm not. Because you're like, you can say this with less words.
Right.
That's something that I learned, because I think I went from like 800 words originally to half.
Wow.
Probably a little less than half. I mean, they kept cutting and cutting, and I'm thinking, are these guys crazy? What's wrong with them? But no, they do know what they're doing. And so at some point I just leaned into their skills and professionalism, and I trusted that.
Well, you've accomplished a lot writing the book, getting it out there, and being a single mom now, doing what you're doing.
Oh my gosh.
What's the biggest message that you'd like to convey to maybe other women who are considering writing? Not only that, but prospective readers, children who are going to be reading the book. What's the huge overarching message for them? And for maybe teachers, because your book, in my opinion, would just be a fantastic read for teachers reading to their students.
Oh yes, I'm surrounded literally by educators and by teachers. My sister is a special education teacher.
Wow.
And this is before my children were even born. My best friend is a special education teacher. I have friends come in the special education field. So when I told them about this book, they were so excited, and my sister's colleagues, because they say it's much needed. Now, when I was doing a lot of research, trying to get ideas and just look at other comparable books, there are a lot of books out there. There are. And this is what upsets me. It's like, why aren't they more known mainstream wise? So that's why I said, no, we got to get these books out there. And I think we're at a period in life where everyone is looking for more inspiration and diversity and equality. So they're out there. So I feel like that's, it's out there much more now. So I'm happy to see that. But again, I want a child with special needs to be a mainstream character. That's just a bonus that, that she's mainstream. I mean, that she's in a wheelchair and has special needs. But
Right.
I want her to be able to resonate with all children. All children have can have a connection to her, despite the fact that she's nonverbal. But no, so I've had teachers so excited, gave me wonderful reviews, because they're like, it's not a story that's kind of like preachy, it's just a story about a little girl who wants to prove, hey, I can play tag, how I'm going to do this. And she has a little spunk in her, like, oh, what do you mean? No, so because it's through her perspective, and that's how we know what she's thinking. So the message is to, be kind. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. My personal experience is that people would say hi to me and walk right by my children. And that was just unacceptable.
Wow.
My children have feelings. They might be nonverbal, but you don't know what's going on in their heads. Thank God they're very happy and joyful. They're just the easiest human beings on earth, and so happy. And I'm very happy and blessed and grateful for that. But that's not okay. And I think that's where that initial little idea of that nugget of an idea came into my head. It's just be kind. And when you see someone different in a corner there, befriend them. You don't know because, you get just as much out of it as they do.
Right. Who did the illustrations for your book?
It was through the publisher. His name is Gaspar Salvatore. He's from Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
So he was Hispanic, which I liked. And yeah, he did a great job, because it's literally what I envisioned in my head of what Gabrielle and Nicholas would look like, because they're obviously, my daughter's going to be 21. I mean, so this has been a long time in coming, but Gabby and Nicholas in the book are like 7 and 6. Gabrielle is the older sister. So that's kind of exactly what they look like in cartoon form. I just loved it, and he nailed it.
So what was that process like, working with the illustrator and getting your vision out where he's
it was interesting at the beginning, because again, you have it in your head and it's hard to convey that, somehow. You kind of give them a picture of your children and be like, okay, here, what do you got? And so initially, I think I gave him the wrong impression that I wanted them to be a real true likeness of them. So when I got the first one, I was like, oh, this is not going to work, because I wanted something young and fun and whimsical and cute. But my publisher was like, no, we'll get it. We just got to be specific. And so once I conveyed that, I said, no, I just want something fun, whimsical, young, colorful. He got it. Like, it was like he hit it out the park. And I was just so happy, and I knew, okay. And so there wasn't much I could say. Everything was pretty spot on after that. So I was very lucky in that sense. And so hopefully from now on in the future, he'll be the illustrator for the next books coming up, because I have worked on my second draft. I did my second draft very quickly after my first, but a lot has gone on since then. And things have gotten very busy, because now I have to focus on my launch and how to get on social media, which I complete novice at. I'm too busy, caring for my kids. They're my first priority. So at some point when things slow down after the launch in April, I will sit down and start reworking the draft, because it switched from that third person point of view to her point of view. So now then that's what I'll work on.
So the book is due out this coming April. Yes,
on April 5th, which no, that's Gabriella's 21st birthday. That was fortuitous. It wasn't planned on purpose.
Wow, something else we have in common. I have a sister whose birthday is on April 5th too.
Yes. So that's her book birthday and her 21st birthday. So I'm super excited. So there's a lot going on, because Gabriella obviously has completely outperformed what this doctor claimed she would live past, and she's 21. She's doing fantastic. She's healthy. She's happy. And so I like to celebrate milestones like that. And so I want to do something for her too. But so I have a lot on my plate. I'm still trying to work on where's my venue for my launch party. I do want to partner with an organization that also promotes special needs, awareness, inclusion. So that's important to me because I want my proceeds to go to donate to these causes and organizations. I mean, it's not about making money off these books. And as you know, as children's books, I mean, you know, but if it becomes, when it becomes very successful, that's what I want to do. I just want to partner with some, be affiliated with an organization that constantly promotes awareness, inclusion, and we could keep working towards that together. I want to donate all proceeds of the book to that.
Wow, that is so awesome. Now, what is the target age range for your book?
3 to 7.
3 to 7. And I imagine that you put a lot of thought into that as you were writing the book as to what your target age range would be for
Yes,
the
you want to keep things simple, easy, and this is what I learned with all the editing, because I thought, okay, 800 words is not a lot. We gotta, go with the rules. Is 3, what do you call that? 3 conflicts and something. You can't say this with it, but you can, and keep them engaged. Make the illustrations fun where they enjoy the colors and it draws them in, but keep the words simple, easy, while telling a story, not preaching to them, where they're interested in, hey, yeah, how is she gonna get to tag these kids? And in the end, just show, look, she's thrilled, she's got new friends now. It's just like any child of any ability wants to be included and accepted. And so at the end of the book too, I have a list of games that you can modify, like showing, look, when you see another kid, you want to play, I don't know, red light, green light, or freeze tag. Hey, this is how you can modify, do this, do that. So that way you can include everyone.
That is awesome. Oh, wow. So where will your book be sold? Will it be sold on Amazon? And
it's already all on pre-order and all those online websites, Amazon, Target, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, any online bookstore. It's already pre-ordered on my website, obviously. I just got word last week that my printed books are on their way. So I will also sell autographed copies with a couple of freebies on my books, on my website, I mean. And so I'm super excited about that. So I'm just enjoying the journey. I think that's where, the secret of life is enjoying the journey and appreciating the journey, because each step, it brings a lot of joy. Like, when my book was finished and they sent me the final, advanced reader copy, I was in tears, and that was a joyful moment. And I felt that, and I still feel that today. And I remember that moment. And now when my book comes and I have it in my hand, because I literally manifested it. That was part of my visualization, was visualizing me holding my book, and that's going to happen probably within the next couple of weeks. So all those things, I enjoy all those moments. And so when the book is done and it's out there, then on to the next, you know what I mean?
Right. So you plan on making this also, I think you mentioned this earlier, you plan on making it a series of books?
Oh, no, it's going to be a series. Like I said, I have the second draft ready to go. I just got to work on it now. I just haven't had a chance, because just a lot going on. I have children that have a lot of special needs. They have a lot of appointments, a lot of phone calls. I could use an assistant, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll bet. Wow. So before you take off, could you tell us your website and your social media? You're on Instagram, because that's how I found you. I feel so blessed that I was able to find you on Instagram.
Yes, I'm on Instagram. I just got on Instagram, probably a couple of months ago.
Wow.
So I'm at Jannesy DeLeon. I'm both on Facebook and Instagram, and my website is www.jannesydeleon.com. So it's my full name, so I'm easy to find that way.
So I just want to say you are such an inspiration. I can tell you are a strong woman. I know you've been through a lot, and it just rings just huge, just how much you've accomplished and how much you continue to accomplish and inspire people. You're inspiring me. So
thank you so much. You know what? If that's my one purpose, how we all look for that purpose, meaning into what we do, that's what I want to do. I want to just be able to help moms, especially moms starting out with a child who's newly diagnosed with some kind of disorder or disease, or to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. just live for today, live in the present moment and find your joy in the moment. It's key. It sounds like a cliche, but at least coming from someone who's been through it and who's still living it,
Right.
and I can still be a positive person and find joy in every day and just do the things that you love. Find the things every day that you love that bring you laughter, whether it be a show, a comedy, a book. Laugh, just laugh a lot.
Well
That
said.
works.
Well said, Jannesy. Thank you so much. Again,
Well,
you are
thank you
such
so
a
much.
you're a huge inspiration. I hope many kids and adults even too are able to read your book and to share your book with so many people out there. That's it's just amazing. You do have a wonderful story, and I hope more people learn about you. And again, thank you for being able to do this on such short notice. And it kind of worked out for me too,
It worked out beautifully, so it was
um,
meant to happen. So I'm very happy that I was able to do it.
because normally I'd be at my other job testing students right now. So it just worked out. It worked out perfectly.
Awesome. Thank you
So
so much.
you're welcome. So everyone, I just wanted to say she's such an awesome guest. It was a pleasure and a privilege to have you on. So Jannesy, again, thank you so very much for doing the podcast today. I truly appreciate it. And hopefully we can talk again in the future and
Yes,
talk
absolutely.
about your next book, because that would be
I'm with
so
that.
amazing.
I'm good with that. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
You're welcome. So everyone, with that, that is the end of this episode of the Total Podcast with me, your host, Phil Scott. Everyone stay safe, be careful out there, take care of one another, and we will talk again soon.